So today we'll discuss regarding how to write a C program. So when you people are going to write any program, you should consider that initially you should know how to implement it. So means what is the problem? You must and should know what is the problem. What is the problem which you are going to solve? So you should know the problem, and next you should know how to solve it. So for example, assume it someone asked to implement a program to find out area of the circle. If someone asked to implement a program to find out area of the circle, in that situation, you people should know what is area of circle, how I am going to implement it. So you must and should know how you are going to implement. So if you know regarding area of the circle, then only you can write a program. So without knowing that one, you are not supposed to do anything. Even though you are familiar with any programming language, either it may be C or C++, Java, Python, whatever it may be, first you should know how to solve or how to calculate area of a circle or else rectangle or else anything. If you know, then you can write the program. For example, I know how to calculate area of the circle. Then you should keep in mind that you should know that. So what will be the thing you're supposed to know? So area of the circle is some area equal to pi r square. Sorry, pi r square. So this is the formula to find out area of the circle. Okay, here area which I am going to calculate it. Pi, I know the value of pi, that is 22/7 or else 3.142. Okay, r square means radius square. I'm going to calculate radius into radius. Okay, radius into radius means when I want to calculate area of the circle, we require the value of radius. Then only we'll calculate it. So means here first you're supposed to write an algorithm. So I need input radius, and then I can calculate area equal to 22/7 into radius, and then print area or display, whatever it may be. So manually you should know the things. Okay, so if you mention these things, that is enough. Okay, for interviews they will ask how you are going to solve the solution. So they will never ask the program. Yes, sometimes they will ask to write a program, okay, to execute it. So that is later, but initially you should know how to implement it. Then only you can proceed. So without knowing the things, you can't do anything. For example, someone asked to find out summation of two matrices. So how you are going to implement, that is secondary thing. But first you should know how to summarize or sum addition of two matrices. How you are going to add two matrices. Okay. If you know, then you can proceed next step. Okay. So that is the thing you should know. Okay. So without knowing anything, can't write any program. So some applications, some programs will be like this, and some programs maybe works on logic. Okay. So some logical based programs also there. For that, you need to think how you are going to find out the solution. Okay. So later on, we'll discuss regarding this all things. Okay. So now when you're going to write the program, first you're supposed to write an algorithm on paper. If everything is okay, if you feel that there is a chance to get result, then you start the program. So for example, I need to implement the program to find out area of the circle. So here, first I need to work with input and input. So as per the session, means as per the algorithm which I wrote, so I need to input of radius. Then I need to calculate area equal to 3.142 into radius into radius. Then you're supposed to print it. Print area. For this, how we are going to replace in program. So when observed any programming language, if you are getting some input or if you are calculating some intermediate values, then you must and shouldly allocate the memory for these things. Here, so you need to allocate a memory for radius and area. You need to allocate the memory for radius and area. How can allocate memory? So with the help of declaring the variable. So the variable declaration will be like this: data type space variable name. Semicolon. So in previous classes, already we discussed regarding the data types like int, float, char. These are the standard basic data types. So we can use either int or float or char up to the data which you are going to use, and then variable. And already we know that for integer how much memory it is going to allocate, for float how much it is going to allocate, for char how much it is going to allocate. Okay. So if it is an integer, it is going to allocate 2 bytes of memory. If it is float, it is going to allocate 4 bytes of memory. And if it is a character, per character, it is going to allocate 1 byte of memory. So that is the thing. Okay, we can handle it. Next, input means I need to take input through keyboard. I need to take input through keyboard. In C programming, how we can do that one? Or else if you are working with Java, how you can do, how to activate keyboard. In Python, how you are going to activate. So for every language, in every language, we have some methods to activate keyboard. So in C program, we have the method called scanf. So scanf is a method which is used to activate the keyboard, the input device. So we people are using input device as a keyboard. So to activate the keyboard, we can use scanf. So next statement is calculation part. Next one is calculation part. So directly formula, we can use this one. Area equal to 3.142 into radius. So there we don't have anything. Directly we can use that state. And next, when it comes to print. So we have print area. Print area. So how we are going to display the resultant value on monitor? So every programming language is having their own methods, but when it comes to C programming, we have the method called printf. We have the method called printf. So scanf is a method to activate the keyboard, which is used for input purpose. We can say that it is an input function. Printf is a method for output purpose. We can say that it's the output function. So input function is scanf, output function is printf. So when you people want to utilize these two functions, then you're supposed to include the header file called stdio.h. So why you supposed to include means these two functions are available on stdio.h. So you should include stdio.h. That will be the first step. That will be the first step. So what I'm using is, so hash include stdio.h. That is the first step. Next, defining the macros. If you want to define any macro, you can define it. So for some small example, here I'm going to define the macro for this value, pi value. Okay, we can define it, and it is not compulsory. Hash define pi value 3.14. Here pi is a macro name. This is a value. Okay, and next, global variables. So in this program, we don't require any global variable. So that is optional. The next, main method. Just you go with void main. Just to start with void main and begin it. Now, the next session is declaring local variables. Declaring the local variables. How you are going to define the local variables and to what purpose we require variables. Already I told you that. So if you want to store something on memory, so with the help of variables only, we can store. So for this problem, I am going to take the input value radius. So compulsorily, you should keep it in memory. And I'm calculating area. So for area, the formula is area equal to 3.142 means pi value into radius. So here pi value already we know, and the radius we supposed to accept. So which is already we are planning to define the variable for radius. And then for area, you should declare it. So when it comes to radius or area, so these data types we can consider as a float. Why? Because so here I am calculating, when I am calculating area, so radius will be multiplied with the 3.142. 3.142 is a float value. This 3.142 is a float value. So means this float value, when I multiplied float value with any type of data, I will get float only. So area also float. Then radius also I'm going to make it as a float. It is optional. Okay, but if you want to get perfect value, then go with float only. So here what I'm doing is float radius. For simplification purpose, I'm making is the r, comma area. Just I'm using a. So these two are the variables which I declared. So again I'm repeating. So when you require variables means if you are going to implement any problem, you should check that whatever the input I am taking, for that you declare the variable, and whatever I am calculating, for that also you require variable. So that's why I declared both variables r and a. And then the next, in algorithm, the first step is input radius. So for that, I'm using scanf. 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 Here in the scanf, you're supposed to use some percentage codes. Percentage characters are there. So these percentage characters, which represents which type of data you're going to accept from the keyboard. For example, here R I'm going to accept from the keyboard, and R is a type of float. Means for integer type, I am using the percentage character is percentage D. For float, I am using percentage F. For character, I am using percentage C. Now I am using means I am accepting the radius value from the keyboard and it is float type. So here I can define scanf percentage F. Okay, then close it, comma, comma, ampersand R, ampersand R. Here ampersand is an operator. It is going to represent address of memory location. It is going to represent address of memory location. Means, so when I wrote the statements float R comma A, so computer is going to allocate some memory for R and some memory for A. How much means? How much memory is going to allocate for float? 4 bytes. Why? Because float is having 4 bytes. So 4 bytes of memory is going to allocate for float. And these memory slots is having their own addresses. So for example, assume it is having some F100, if it is having some F106. Okay, something addresses are there. So the intention of this statement scanf percentage F comma ampersand R means I am giving instructions to the computer. I am giving instructions to the computer. Accept the float value means with the decimal points value and store it into R. Store it into R. So R in the sense, so we have plenty of memory in it. So right now our computers are having some 16 GB RAM, 8 GB RAM, 2 GB RAM, like that we have. So 16 GB assume it is very vast amount of memory. There you can't find R. For example, when I'm reaching to kernel, if someone asks that where is Mr. Mahesh, so you can find thousands of Mahesh in kernel. Then who is the particular person? If you mention some address, there you can find that person. For example, if they said that he is working in KV Subbardi College. Yes, in KV Subbardi College also, we may having like 3 to 4 Maheshas are there. If they mention some department, then that will be the correct address. He is working in CS department. So directly they can reach to me. So like that, here I am giving instruction to the computer to take the float value and store it into the memory location R along with address I am giving. So then whatever the value you took from keyboard, that will store in that particular memory location. Okay. So now I accepted the value. Then what is the next step? You need to calculate area. Area in the sense I mentioned the variable called A. So A equal to pi r square. So I mentioned pi means pi. It is a macro. Okay. So and next we are going to use r square means r into r. That's all. Here you should keep in mind that in C programming, every statement should terminate with semicolon. That should be one point you should know. Okay, I calculated area. That one is completed. And the next one is printing. So to print something on monitor, we are using the function called printf. With the help of printf function, you can display some result on monitor. So the printf statement I am going to apply like this: printf in quotations. Again, you're supposed to use the percentage character, which type of data you're going to print. So I'm mentioning some prompt message area is percentage f quotation close comma a, then semicolon. So means it is going to display the message area is, and whatever the area which they calculated, it will display on monitor. So that's all. Logic is completed. So simply I'm closing the program. Simply I'm closing the program. So this is the way which you are going to write the program. So first you should know what is the problem, how we can solve it. That manually you should know. And then keep the solution on paper. So by mentioning the algorithm, what is the steps? First, what are the input you required to solve the problem? For example, here I solve the problem to find out area of the circle. If they ask the area of the rectangle, then area of the rectangle is equal to L into B, length into breadth. Means if you know length and breadth, then only you are going to calculate area of the rectangle. In that situation, the input will be length, breadth. Then I am calculating area, some A equal to L into B. Then I am printing area. Means problem to problem, there will be variation in inputs. So you should know what are the inputs you require, what are the calculations you are doing. For these all things, you should declare the variable in local variable section. Once the variable declaration is completed, and then go with input part with the help of scanner. And once the input is completed, then go with calculation part. And once the calculation is completed, then go with the resultant part, means printing the result. Okay. So I'm going to execute the program by using online compiler. The same program I'm going to execute it. Just a minute. So in Google, you can find any online compiler. Okay, you no need to install software, just you go with the online compiler. Okay. Here I'm having, so the flexibility of online compilers are some default code will be there. So here already they mentioned include stdio.h, int main, return 0, these all things are there. So along with sample code, just I'm going to remove this thing. Directly I'm going to start the variable declaration like int a comma r. So a is to find out area, r is to find out radius. And actually in my program I define the macro. So hash define pi 3.142, that I will write it. Okay, so hash define pi 3.142. okay, that is a macro, and it's not compulsory, for normal purpose only I implemented. And the next one is scanf. So sorry, here I mentioned float, so it's take float only. Scanf in quotations I'm going to mention percentage f, means I'm going to accept float value, comma ampersand r. Here ampersand is going to represent address of the memory location, means in which address you are going to store, so I'm going to store in this address. So I mentioned ampersand r. Okay, then calculation a equal to pi r square, means pi into r into r. Here pi means the pi, it is a macro, so it will be replaced with 3.142. And then printf area is area is %f, comma a. Just I'm closing it. So once the program is completed, simply click on run. So some cursor is waiting here. Some cursor is waiting here. I'm going to define the area. Some 5 I am giving. When I press enter, I got area is 78.55000003. So that's the thing. Again, I'm going to execute it. Just to check it, here cursor is waiting and I don't know what I need to proceed. So why it is waiting, I don't know. So for that purpose, we can go with prompt message. Okay, here I am giving some 4. So I'm getting area. Prompt message. Prompt message is nothing but for indication purpose, what you're supposed to do. So that prompt message will be given with the help of printf only. Printf, some string message. Enter radius of circle. So it looks good. It looks sound. For example, I can execute this one. So I'm getting the message, enter radius of circle. Earlier, just circle is waiting, but now I'm getting the message also. So now I'm going to give the radius of circle. It may be 6 or 6.5, whatever it may be one. When you press enter, I got area is 132.749496. So this is the way of writing C program. Okay. So you should keep in mind that if without knowing the problem, means without knowing the solution to the given problem, you can't implement it. Okay. So whatever the solution you found, keep it on paper in the form of algorithm. And then we can start writing the program. Okay.